Lately, it feels like the world is just heavy. You turn on the news, you scroll through social media, and it's a constant stream of bad news, division, and anxiety. It wears you down. And honestly, it's not just the big global headlines, it's the day to day grind. We live in this hyper efficient, sterile world where true human connection feels like it's completely dying out. We automated the grocery aisles, we talk to screens instead of people, we've traded empathy for convenience. And the result is that a lot of people feel completely invisible, lonely, and isolated. Think about your average trip to the supermarket. Not always the most relaxing experience. Bright, harsh fluorescent lights, the constant beeping of the scanners, shoppers aggressively pushing carts, staring at their phones, desperately wanting to avoid eye contact with anyone. It's pretty much an assembly line. You're just a transaction there. The employees don't want to be there. The customers don't want to be there. And everyone is just trying to get the heck out. It feels impossible to fix a culture that cold. It feels like a machine that's too big to stop. But a few years ago, a motivational speaker named Barbara Glanz stood in front of about 3,000 employees from a large grocery chain. It was a tough room. People who felt stuck in dead-end jobs, tired, underpaid, and underappreciated. Barbara looked out at this sea of exhausted faces and she gave them a challenge. She said, "Every single one of you has the power to make a difference. I want you to go to work tomorrow and find a way to leave your personal stamp on your job. Create a memory for your customers." When most people in that defeated room heard that corporate speech, they rolled their eyes. They thought, yeah, right. I make minimum wage. The system is broken. What can one person do? But sitting in that room was a 19-year-old kid named Garrett. Garrett worked as a grocery bagger, and he also happened to have Down syndrome. And unlike everyone else drowning in the doom and gloom of the daily grind, Garrett didn't just hear the speech. He took it completely literally. Garrett went home that night and he sat down with his father. The weight of the world didn't stop him. He said, "Dad, I want to do what the speaker said, but I'm just a bagger. How can I leave a stamp?" They brainstormed and Garrett came up with a plan. He sat down at the family computer and started searching for positive, uplifting quotes. Every single night after that, Garrett would find a thought for the day. He'd type it into a computer grid, printing 6 to 9 quotes per page. Then he would take a pair of scissors and carefully cut out every single little slip of paper. He'd flip each one over and sign his name on the back, Garrett. The next day, he brought his stack of papers to work with him. He stood at the end of his checkout lane, bagging groceries in that same cold, stressful supermarket. But every time he finished packing a person's bags, he broke that machine. He'd stop. He'd look them right in the eye, slide one of his daily quotes into the top of the bag and say, "I put a good saying in your bag today. I hope it helps you have a great day." At first, it was just a quiet act of defiance against the cynical world we live in. But then something unbelievable started happening. About a month later, Barbara Glanz got a frantic phone call from the store manager. He said, "Barbara, you won't believe what's happening here. Yesterday, I walked out onto the grocery floor and the store was a mess. Line 2 maybe had one person in it, line 3 completely empty, but Garrett's line was backed up all the way into the frozen food aisle." The manager started panicking. He ran over to the shoppers waiting in Garrett's massive line and said, "Hey guys, I can open up another register for you right over here. You don't have to wait." And the customers looked at the manager and said, "No thanks, we'll wait. We want to be in Garrett's line." In a world where we pay extra for same-day shipping, where we maybe get angry if a web page takes more than a couple seconds to load, people were actively choosing to stand in line 3 times longer than necessary just to get a little piece of paper from a 19-year-old kid with Down syndrome. One woman came up to the manager with tears streaming down her face and said, "I used to shop here once a week. Now I come in every single day. I buy things I don't even need just to get Garrett's thought for the day, because that little piece of paper is the only kind thing anyone says to me all day long." That doom and gloom, that cold clinical machine of a grocery store, well, it started to melt from the inside out. This beautiful ripple effect took over the whole building. The other workers saw what Garrett was doing, and they started smiling more. The guy in the floral department looked at a bunch of broken flowers they'd normally just throw in the trash, but instead of wasting them, he picked them up, cleaned them off, and started walking down the aisles, pinning them on elderly customers and kids just to make them smile. Over in the meat department, the butchers started buying Snoopy stickers with their own money. They'd wrap up a pack of meat, slap a sticker on it, and hand it over with a genuine grin. The entire atmosphere of a sterile, boring grocery store turned into a community hub of genuine human love. All because one teenager decided that his job wasn't just bagging groceries. His job was to make people feel alive. Garrett didn't have a corporate budget. He didn't have a marketing strategy or a fancy title. He just had a pair of scissors, a printer, and a refusal to let the cynicism of the world win. We tend to think that changing the world requires some massive, heroic, impossible effort. We think we are too small to fight the gloom. But Garrett proved that the biggest light comes from the smallest moments. It's the way you look someone in the eye. It's the extra 5 seconds you have to take to be kind to the cashier, or the note you leave for a coworker. So as you finish up your coffee today and head out to whatever version of the grocery store is for you, whether it's the office, a classroom, or maybe just running some errands, remember Garrett today. Ask yourself, what's my slip of paper today? How can I break the machine? You don't need a grand plan. You just need to be a little bit like Garrett. So get out there today and try this strategy for yourself. The Garrett strategy, we'll call it. This isn't the first time on Briefly Good that we've talked about the ripple effect, and it definitely won't be the last. But here it is again. And it kind of reminds me of a story that happened to me personally on Memorial Day. In my hometown here in Rhode Island, I was working an event for the Memorial Day Parade, a little ceremony down by the town hall. Well, this year, Monday's weather here in Rhode Island wasn't great, and they decided to call off the parade but still have the ceremony. And just up the street, there was a couple of kids that were selling lemonade. It was raising money for some medical cause. I can't remember exactly what it was. I apologize. But my boss personally had seen this lemonade stand and thought, what a terrible thing that these kids are trying their best out there to do something positive and raise some money, and the weather didn't cooperate. So he stopped and he got a lemonade. Obviously, he didn't give them exactly the price that they were looking for. He gave them quite an upgrade. But it didn't stop there, and it could have. But my boss told everyone that he talked to at this event that was coming early for the setup what was going on just around the corner up the street, told them the reasons behind why they were selling the lemonade, and encouraged others to go up there and do the same. And one after another, people from my town went up and help these kids out. So you just never know when you're going to set something off, some chain of positivity. So just give it a chance. I'm so glad you guys joined me. And please send me an email. I want to hear your good stories, your favorite quotes. You can reach me brieflygood@hotmail.com. I'd love to hear from you. So I'll send you back into the world today with our Briefly Good quote of the week. This one is from Jane Goodall, and I think it ties in pretty good with our theme today. What you do makes a difference, and you have to decide what kind of difference you want to make. See you next week, and remember, do something good today, even if it's brief.